Hey, who would you talk to? What's going on? It is me, Mike Leopard King Michael. This is Legit Paranormal, brought to you by LegitPodcast.com. It is July 30th, 2023. So we got 7, 3, and 0. Okay, so 3 times 0 is 0, plus 7 is 7. And then 2 plus 2 plus 3 is 7. Buddy, I double sevens on both sides for the math geeks. Joining me is Buddy Money Thayer. What's up, buddy?
Good evening, Mike. How we doing tonight?
I'm doing really well. I just made the date work.
Right?
And I have more of those the Sour Monkey, the Victory Sour Monkey.
Victory is a good beer, Mike. It's that 9.5% kick right
That's why that's the only reason I'm
Sour
drinking.
Monkey. Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the taste. I'm being honest. Don't like it very much.
No, it's sour, so it's really not that great. Most sours are a lighter percentage, but good for you for going all out and grabbing the Victory, Mike.
You got to get through the first one, and then the second one tastes okay.
Because you can't feel your taste buds. But if you want to feel your taste buds and you want to have a really delicious craft beer, like our guest tonight, this beer right here is from the state of New York, like the terrible Buffalo Bills, the even more terrible New York Yankees. You can find Other Half Brewing in Brooklyn, New York. Not home of the Giants, but home of all these other great New York teams that also suck. It's delicious beer. It's Citra. It's one of my favorite hops, and like our guest tonight, it's quite full-bodied and quite delicious. I mean, quite fantastic.
So our guest tonight is full-bodied and delicious.
I'd say he's full-bodied.
Last time you introduced a female, you called her robust. Joining us, though, however, is Sin, Shrader, Hill, author. Sin, am I right? Am I wrong?
You are correct. I do remember the robust, and I'm just glad he wasn't, saying I was.
Yeah. But even just, what did you just say? Called Chris tasty and delicious? What did you say?
Yeah, full body. Full body.
My bad.
Full body.
Right.
Full body.
So would you like
well-rounded? It's another way of saying well-rounded.
And we're gonna have a hard time with him tonight.
No.
Just so you're aware. All right, buddy, would you like to do our intro?
So, like my delicious Other Half Brewing, our guest tonight comes to us from the Empire State of New York. He's an author. He's a paranormal survivor. This man's story, I've heard it over a dozen times, and it still manages to capture my attention, my emotions every single time. You catch something else new with this guy. He's also going to be joining us live and in the flesh on August 25th through the 27th, along with our buddies out there on Block Island, Rick Lysak, Block Island Rick, Holly, and all the kids out there. They're going to bring this guy on. They're going to do all sorts of fun stuff. Joining us live tonight, welcome back to the show for the third and most glorious time, Chris Dicesare. Welcome to the show, Chris.
In the full-bodied flesh.
Hey, it's better than robust. I got to be honest. You won if that's a game. You know what I mean?
My rapper named Delicious. That'd be good.
Delicious. So, buddy, I noticed that you used the phrase "still manages." In other words, as if your attention is so important that somehow Chris's story still manages to get your attention.
No, Mike, because you hear it.
Did I take it wrong?
I've heard this story a million times, but it's like he still always manages to captivate. He always manages to grab me emotionally. It's like it's an amazing story. It's an amazing experience.
It's an incredible story.
Chris, you see the compliment, right? But it's also like his own ego a little bit in the compliment. You know what I'm trying to say to you? He's complimenting you, but there's a little bit more.
I think we all see the world through our own lens, and that's an important thing. And hopefully our lens is close to other lenses around us, and that makes things helpful for discussion. But no, I guess if I'm going to be polite about this, I would say I think because it's an experience and not a story, it has meaning. People understand that there are real people in real moments with real emotions and real fear. So I think anytime you hear about someone sharing some interesting trauma, you think, what can I learn from that? Or how do I avoid that from happening? So I think it's not so much me as a speaker, but I think the experience itself is pretty amazing.
Yeah. So, Sin, what's nice is that you weren't here like the first time we had Chris on, which was like 9 or 10 years ago. I think it was like 10 years ago. Wasn't it? Wasn't it
Kind
10
of
years ago?
thrilling.
First one was about 2.5 years ago, Mike. He was one of our first 10 guests. Yeah.
So, Chris, here's what you did to me, though. After your story, I went on to listen to other people's stories, and some of them weren't true. But I had to listen to them anyways, because like I believed yours to a point where I was like, I'm going to give everybody X amount of a story time.
Right.
And I realized that at one point, oh, maybe I should just give this much of a story time, and then I'll figure out if it's more real. Like I went in too deep in end. You know, I was listening to everybody's story. I'm going, oh, I don't know about that. There's just some that are like blatantly like from a movie. You know what I'm trying to say? Like
So
they'll be
far
like,
out.
and Samuel L. Jackson was there, and you're like, what? Just like that. It's just, it is what it is. Now, here's what me and Buddy were talking about. So, and the funny thing is, I've watched that show. I've used clips of it so many times. What made you go to the college that you chose? Now, Buddy proposed that question, and I believed it to be track. I don't know completely. I'm going by memory. So, what made you go to the school in the first place? Like, I'm trying to figure out what made you pick that college.
Before I was so full-bodied, I was a nationally ranked distance runner, and I was also a good student at school. Go figure. And so the next thing someone does who does well in school and athletically as well is they go to college, right? And maybe to get some kind of paper to bring home with them and get a better paying job. That was the plan anyway. You know, that's the way it was. Rectangle, not square, of course. Rectangle's put my trophies in, the big rectangular trophy case. But thank you for that, buddy. I appreciate that. But no, you know, and I was offered some scholarships, full rides to Quinnipiac, Wittenberg, places like that. But I was afraid to get hurt, and if I got hurt, I couldn't pay the whole amount. So Geneseo gave me half of a stipend, half of a scholarship, so that I cut the cost of the school down, state school. And if I didn't continue running, I'd be able to afford it anyway. And I went there for orientation. It was so beautiful. My gosh, it was gorgeous. A small town Americana. Guys were overalls. There's flowers and window pots by the stores. I just
no banjos, right? No banjos.
Because
Because you just said overalls.
There was a hammered dulcimer. Does that count?
No.
No, it's a beautiful place. I went there. I said, I want to go here.
How far away from home was it from you?
It was a 5-hour drive if you don't speed, you know. So that's it's a ways away, and I had no car anyway. So once my parents dropped me off, I was there for the duration. Once in a while, I was able to hitchhike a ride home or ask somebody in the dorms nearby to drop me off on the way out to Long Island someplace or New York City, and that worked once in a while. But for the most part, I was there. But luckily enough, it was I just loved it there. You know, they had much music. They had MTV back in the day when I played music was always on, and they had foosball tables and ping pong tables and parties and state parks and waterfalls, and I loved it regardless.
The 80s when college got it right.
Yeah, they had the shoulder pads and the girls and their shirts, and the feathered hair they had, and the things on their ankles. What are the things called on their legs?
I don't know, but I'm enjoying it.
Leggings, yeah. And the jelly bracelets.
All it's coming back. So scary.
I had a flat top on the top, long hair in the back. I rocked
a mullet,
the Guido mullet.
Like a
yeah, but it's more of a Guido mullet because it was like gelled and spiked in the front.
Oh,
in the back, I had long hair, guy.
That was a thing then. That was a popular hairstyle back then.
And that's very terrifying.
Yeah, should not have been, but it was.
Yeah.
Terrifying. So, all right, you go there for running now. What do you decide to major in? You pick that one right away? Because with me, it was like, I don't know, first year.
I didn't know what the heck to do. I know that my grandparents worked in factories and stores and warehouses, and I was one of the first people in my family who had to go to college. So I'm definitely going to go, obviously. And the big thing was then don't skip school. You work in a gas station. You dig ditches. That was the big thing I always told you about that. Digging ditches. Remember that was the thing, the line. Yeah. Anyway, so I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I figured out when I got there, and they had this thing called a 3-year baccalaureate program where they give you credit for your whole first year, 2 semesters, if you pass this test. It was 6 hours. It was 2 hours for science, 2 hours for math, whatever it was. It was 38 years ago. But I passed all the sections, so I went in my first year as a 17-year-old sophomore. So I skipped the whole year. So I had no clue then because usually you'll find it when I do. So I think I was a communications major, like for business. Writing speeches and things like that, or newsletters, communiques, things like that. That's what I was going for. I think my minor was in history.
There you go.
But again, I was just going in
Nice.
case I didn't make the Olympic team. I was going to be a runner, but just in case I hedged my bet, and I would do some schooling too, do some learning, and that was the backup plan.
Now, I told you this last time really quick. It's weird because the best cross-country kid that I knew was this little Italian guy, Steve Neary. And there's just something about it. Like my dad, full Italian guy, little guy, 2'5'3", used to claim that we weren't supposed to run Italians. Like, we don't run fast. That's not. But I know some lightning fast Italian. Like my brother Ray, buddy. Like, brother Ray was the fastest in his high school when he was there. Period. If he was a freshman.
Orlando Pizzolato. How's that for an Italian name? Won New York City Marathon 84 and 85 before and after the haunting. Galindo Bordin won the Olympic Games in 88. So there are a lot of fast Italians.
Back in the 80s.
Yes. that was us back in the 80s. We'll slow it down now.
That was our. Like, there was like a sports peak. It started in like the '60s for the Italians and ended in the '80s. That was it. We checked out. Marino out. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's in Europe.
Okay. So you got to go, and this was before the actual haunting, from what I understand. Lorraine and Ed Newman came and did a talk. She kind of saw you in the audience, but then when you went up to meet her, something happened. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, it's interesting because Ed and Lorraine Warren back then were known for their involvement with the Amityville Horror House. There was a movie around that period of time and made it very popular and famous. I didn't like ghost things and scary things. I just heard about it like peripherally. George was scary enough for me. And my next door neighbor in the dorm, his name was John Jeff Unger. He said, "Listen, let's go to hear them talk. They'll be in town, and it's free." I thought, well, gee, if it's free, I can afford that investment for sure. And we went there, and they must have been very popular because the place was packed. And at first, I had a hard time with what they were saying. I mean, don't get me wrong. Ed Warren had this booming personality, a booming voice. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, very loud, grab your attention. And Lorraine was, I use the word elegant. She was glamorous, just beautiful with the straight back and the hair up and the gown. And she knew her presence. And when she looked at you, you knew she believed what she was saying. Maybe you didn't believe, but you knew she did. And that makes it a better story for the viewer. But she kept saying this odd thing and looking at me. She kept on saying, like attracts like. And I mean, my dad taught science. I was good in school. Take a magnet. Like poles repel. Opposites attract. I knew how that worked. So what they were saying oftentimes thought, what is this oppression thing? And some stages of this. And what is it? But it was entertaining. They had these cool slides, these still slides. They had these things they called EVPs. They played over the loudspeaker, kind of scary sounding thing. So I thought, well, it's entertaining at least. But I didn't really buy into it. At the end of the presentation, Ed said, "Come up, meet Lorraine Warren, the famous psychic." And so we got online to make our way down to the stage. And as I got on the stage, she looked at me and she said, point blank, "I won't shake your hand." And I thought maybe she was talking to somebody else behind me, but she wasn't. And then she said, "I don't know my future. I don't want to know my future." I thought, what does that mean? Ed put hands on me and tossed me off the stage. Literally tossed me off the stage in front of all these people. And I was so embarrassed. I was so angry. I was outraged. I didn't even believe what you're saying. So, and then Jeff walked me back to the dorm, Erie Hall for Lake Erie, and began to ask me what I thought about their reaction. And he asked me things like, "Are you sensitive?" I said, "Well, I am now. I just thought damn state, of course I'm sensitive." But he was talking about what she was talking about, which is the idea that there might be some sixth sense to this whole thing, some ability. And I didn't know. I just dumb as a rock in those areas. And then about 11 days later, I began to hear what they call nowadays, I just called it freaky scary, a disembodied voice. I began to call my name repeatedly. And that's how the whole thing began. I should point out, I had the chance after 30-some years of thinking Lorraine and Ed didn't like me and I was better, they were bad. I met their daughter, Judy, and she mentioned to me in passing, "Hey, my gosh, you're the Ghost Boy of Geneseo." I'm like, "Yeah, that's me. My mom loved you." Yeah, hold on a second. That's somewhat like what happened with your mom and your dad, how much they loved me. They threw me off the stage. And she said, no, because Judy was afraid to go to the presentation. That they scared her, the concepts. You wait in the car and draw or sketch, write poems. And the mom came back, Lorraine, and said that this young kid was there with this huge aura, and it really threw her off. She couldn't read beyond it. So what I thought was insulting and mean and aggressive and unnecessary, for 30 some odd years, that was my impression. That lens we talk about, they just interfering with their presentation. They're being paid to be there, and get them off the stage. Wow. But apparently I made a positive impression, and it wasn't until years before Lorraine passed away, I was able to kind of mend things up a little bit. So I
Oh,
never
wow.
said anything about them. It's just I didn't understand what happened there. I don't want to go up and have her say the same thing again to me. Oh, it's that bad kid again. So
Yeah.
that was again. So my whole paranormal experience was at first negative. The stage thing, the haunting, it took me a long time to get my sea legs, as it were, to actually want to involve myself in this, what I would say, nonsense back in the day that's now defined my life.
That's an incredible story. And what a great way to come full circle, too.
Yeah, but who writes this, right? I mean, in other words, like, I never believed in fate until these things started happening to me, because free will kind of fights against the idea of fate. So what is it? We have free will, or is there fate? And is there a balance someplace between choosing between these events that are supposed to happen that someone or something dictates? It's a hard discussion. It's a hard thought process. And over the years, I'm still trying to find a gauge between those two things.
Chris, let me answer a couple questions here real quick. One, Buddy, write this down. We need to dress better. That's become apparent what Chris just said. Okay? Write it down. Dress better. So come full circle. I don't know about that. I might still be upset that she couldn't hold her water, so to speak, and just not tell you anything. Just be cool and let this kid go by and deal with what he's going to deal with. Because she almost lit the match, because 11 days later, there's a voice. Now, is that coincidence? Maybe. Is it the start of something? Maybe also. Wait. And then lastly, so he has faith in free will, right? Picture you're like this ball bouncing around these other ping pong balls, and you're going to go where you're going to go, but every now and then you get a chance to push a little, and it will guide the ball a little bit. So that's about as much control I think we have in our lives. Because every now and then we make a decision, we just bounce this way,
Right.
and then the story is going to be written. It's like a choose your own adventure either way. Not a good ending.
I don't know about holding her water, because it was Ed who did the pushing and throwing. So I think her reaction alarmed Ed. And I think Ed reacting to her thought, uh-oh. And if you learn a little about the Warrens going way back, he didn't believe her at first that she had these gifts. She had to prove it to him, where she would say there's something in that house. So he'd park his vehicle. He'd get it. He was like to paint landscapes. He'd get a easel out, and he'd get his canvas and start painting the house. People say, "What are you doing out there?" "Oh, I'm painting your house. Come see." As they painted, Lorraine would say things like, "Well, what's in your house? Do you hear noises?" And sure enough, time after time, people say, "Yeah, there's something in the house." I began to believe her by these interactions. So he made a couple dollars with his painting, made some new friends, and she began to establish his legacy of having this gift. So I don't know. Plus, if you date someone or you're with them for a long time, you see the downside, you see the mistakes, and it's possible to doubt a little more than if you don't see them, I think. But I still think you have to appreciate the good things. I don't want to criticize either one of them. I thought they made a mistake, probably looking back, but we all survived it, and that's how we learn.
Yeah.
I think maybe she assumed that you knew you had these gifts, and you really didn't, did you? You really didn't have a clue.
I didn't know how that worked. When I was a small child, about I think 10 or 11 years old, my great-grandfather passed away. This is the one thing I recall as a kid, going way back. And I was proud of him, and so I wanted to be, at the funeral and things like that. And then about 6 months later, I'm hitting a ball in the backyard, and the ball went around the house. I had to get the ball. It was fair or foul, depending on Babe Ruth or somebody, And I got the ball, and as I looked up, my great-grandfather's spirit was right there. I couldn't believe it. And he passed away 6 months prior. I thought, and he went like this. He went, that was it. So I don't forget about it. Never happened. Don't think about it. Nothing. And so that was the experience I had. So although I didn't want to understand that or accept that one thing did occur. And once in a while you'd hear it in the back of your head saying, "Don't forget, great grandpa, don't forget." But I said, nah, that's just, maybe I was hallucinating. Maybe I was overtired. Maybe, who knows? Right. But looking back, there was that one incident. But I wasn't the kind of person who took auras and chakras, and I was like Shirley MacLaine back in the day. Remember that?
Yeah, of course.
I was more of a science, baseball kind of dude, running kind of dude. No offense, but
Hey, Buddy, why won't Chris let me defend him in an argument he doesn't want to have?
I'm not sure, Mike. I do have a question for you though, Chris.
All right, good.
So pre-show we talked about Mike and I had a little bit of a discussion, and you just mentioned fate and free will. So I remember in the first show you told your story, which was amazing. Again, in the second show you talked about the link that your ancestry might have had with the spirit that might have been haunting you. Do you think that by chance fate could have brought you to the State University of New York? This ghost, this spirit, bringing you there to have that experience, rather than you just happened to be a guy that was like open to this stuff, not that you knew of, and there for track, and just happened to be in the right dorm, the right time, the right place. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
That's a scary thing if it's true, because that suggests that this thing can get into my head, know how to manipulate me from afar, control my behavior without me knowing anything about it. And I was there for a whole year and change. So then it made a master plan for 13, 14 months and decided after Lorraine Warren talked to me,
the government.
Gotcha. I don't know how that works. I wish I could. I wouldn't give it that much credit because it was suffering. When I did finally speak to it, it was in pain. It was desperate. So I think that perhaps the Warrens opened up a spark in my mind of doubt or belief in the paranormal, and that thing picked up on that doubt, the opening, and said, hey, here I am. Your eyes are open now. Look at me here. I think it's more because the place where that individual was killed, hung in that tree there, I ran by and cross country probably 3 times a week, probably 70 times. And it's ironic that I ran past that tree after hearing Ed and Lorraine Warren speak, and lo and behold, this thing apparently follows me to my room. At the time, I had no conception of how that could work, and I wish I had more answers. But if I'm being honest, I mean, life is a lot of journey for us, right? And we always think we know something, and dang, and look at the Mets, for example. They get Verlander, they get Scherzer, they sign all these contracts, best team in baseball. They're in last place. So sometimes we have all these data points and it leads to a certain conclusion, and sometimes, hell with that, life says, good luck. What's that phrase? Man plans, God laughs.
No, God, man plans while God laughs. Yeah. I say that all the time to kids because it's just true. You could be planning something next week, and
it's good to plan because once in a while it happens well for you, but you have to be prepared for that curveball. And that's what life presents you between cancer, unemployment, war, disease. I mean, things will happen sometimes. You have to kind of, grit your loins and really appreciate good food and good music and good friends and good times. I think about my youth. I had grandparents. They were so cool. I heard about them growing up in the 40s and the 50s and the kind of cars they had and the music and the politics. What a wealth of knowledge that they inspired me to be a good person, my grandparents. And so those are good things. They're gone. And I could be said every day about that. But while they were here, they really helped me a lot. And I appreciate that.
Nice.
Yeah. So first off, again, the 80s was the greatest time to ever go to college. Period. It was. It just was. Right. Music was just killing. It was just you go to see like Steve Miller. It would be like a million people, right? You just go see.
Yep.
That's all you would do. Like it was just that kind of time. It's like I miss big old cars, but look. There's no way that you can't tell me that it was in the cards that this handsome young Italian long distance runner happens to go to this. Oh, you look like Sammy Hagar. Come on, you know you did.
You Red Rocker?
Yeah. So you happened to go there, and the next thing you know, you just happen to meet the Warrens, and you just happen to have this follow you. Like that's just all by just chance. Like that to me is too much chance. Like there's some points where I have to, like again, I said the ping pong ball. We stick with that theory. Push off. There's definitely points where you have to push off. But you were going there, dude. That was going to happen.
Yeah, maybe you're right. During the haunting, I was religious to the point where I'd go with my parents to church because that's what good kids do, make my parents happy. Yeah. But I wasn't wholly religious in terms of my belief systems. Yeah. But I remember at the darkest moments of the haunting, I did turn to my faith and I'd say, God, you got the wrong guy. If you picked me for this, you made a terrible, terrible mistake. I can't do this. I can't survive. This is embarrassing. And on 2 fronts. 1, I can't do it. 2, everyone knows I can't do it. But here I am. So maybe once again, maybe there is the higher power that does sense things, and maybe I was somehow against the odds, against all odds. I love that song, Phil Collins. The one to do this,
Yeah, definitely. Like, that's what I was trying to say. Buddy, what do you think? Is that your dog?
That is my dog upstairs, Mike, barking at probably the other dog who's smaller and won't play with her.
Can you hear mine?
No. Yeah, maybe slightly. My thoughts on this, Mike, someone like myself always experienced things as a youngster and almost ignored it or said it was something else until it walked right into my face. And is it fate? Is it destiny? Is it meant to happen? I don't know. Do they see us in that light? I don't know.
So listen. Being old is a nice perspective, right? Because you can see the mistakes you made that actually ended up working out. Like horrible things, the death of a family member, how it somehow led to something good just by the way the dominoes fell, right? It's not like it caused it, it's the reason for it, but it was just part of the whole way that it went. Like if that didn't happen, this doesn't happen. There you go, right? Secondly, so what I'm realizing, Chris, doing these paranormal podcasts for so long now, right? It seems like every day with Buddy, every day. People, they try to avoid saying God, USA. What's the other one you just can't say anymore? Well, those are the main two. But so the idea of God, let me explain one thing I always say. Like my dad would say, there's no atheist in a foxhole. Like when it hits the fan, I guarantee everybody is praying to someone. And whether they want to admit that or not, I really don't think somebody in like a real time of like, oh my God, here comes a fireball like 20 feet high. He's going, no one help me. No one come save me. I'm okay that there's nobody up there. Here I go. No one's thinking that. They're going, oh my God, if there's a God and I blew it all these years, help me out right now. Buddy, would you agree? 10 out of 10?
Yeah, usually I get a friend who's an atheist, and he's only an atheist because he thinks he's not
smart
sure enough to say, like, no, he's very smart. He's very smart.
That's what I'm trying to say. He's too smart. I said he's too smart.
Assume. He doesn't want to, like, assume that there's a God. He doesn't want to do that. He wants to know for sure. So he's like,
yeah.
I can't say one way or another, but he's like an atheist, I guess you would say, yeah. So,
Sin, you know what I'm trying to say? He was too intelligent? What do you got?
On my wall, there's a thing of Pope Pius XII. A woman named Sarah Connor, no joke, from Philadelphia was dying of cancer back in the 1940s. And she felt alone and sad and had money, but no hope. And she sent money to the Catholic Church in Rome, and they had in the Vatican, the Pope said a mass on her behalf, and all the parishioners prayed for her. And the doctor said that gave her great hope, and she recovered for a short time. Just people would care and love about her. So, again, you can argue about what does that mean. It's all psychosomatic, but her faith and hope, and the idea that people put faith in her and cared about her without having to.
Yep.
That's why I had that on my wall. The idea that hey, just don't laugh at things so fast.
Yep.
You know, everybody has value, everybody has a talent and a skill, and everyone has meaning. And so that's a reminder to me not to always just do science, that the spirit, that the love, those things exist and are very powerful in life.
Well, because, Sin, you know this, but atheists are people that they want to tell other people that God doesn't exist, which blows my mind. Like, they don't need to go, like if I see somebody, they go to church every single day, right? And they're like, it's the only way to live. It's the best way to live. I would go, yeah, I'm glad that works out. I'm glad that's how it's working for you. That's great. Like, that's what I would basically say. And that's not even that nice. But what I would not say is like, yeah, that's a waste of time because there's no proof. And I don't go. I'm an atheist. It's like, if you don't believe in God, then you shouldn't even be talking about him. There's no conversation. You shouldn't even be in the conversation. Just when God comes up, just go, yeah, I'm out. And check yourself out.
But now everybody has to have an opinion about everything.
They just want proof. They want proof now, which is not even a real word anymore because you can't get enough proof for people to believe you, but they want absolute proof. And that's where the whole idea of faith.
You know what? If I can just
go ahead, Chris,
real quick, and I apologize for the interruption.
No, that's what we do.
If you have a young girl who was abandoned by her mom or both her parents at the age of 2, put in foster homes, was molested or abused by the foster parents for 3 or 4 years, was left behind by the caseworker, I can understand how someone like that might not believe in God because if there's a God, he isn't like me. So if it's someone else's God, it's not my God, and then God can't be good if that's the case. And I think when people suffer pain, they say, well, listen, then there is no God, or God doesn't like me, so why should I bother? And I think it shows like what you do here, when you use your humor, when you use your insight, that inspires us to think, hold on a second, maybe I just misjudged, and we have good and bad valleys and peaks in our lives. And I always hope when I speak in public, there's someone there who's suffering a lot who can hear my experience and think, you know what? I think I can do this now, because it's not so much about me and a ghost. It's about surviving moments you can't explain. It's about overcoming things you thought for sure were hopeless. And I never begrudge somebody not believing. And if they say things like, there's no God, I feel a little bit bad for them because you can't know that. And logically, you're better off just saying, well, there might be, so hedge my bet and put some stock in that, because why not? My portfolio have diversification in my portfolio, you know? So it's like no sense to say it doesn't exist. I feel kind of bad for them, but I hope that in my actions and my words, I can inspire them to reconsider for their own sake. Now, can I save them? No. They can only save themselves in a sense, correct? If that's the case. But everyone needs to have a little bit of doubt, a little bit of fear, a little bit of hope in them, right? And so people get hurt and they lash out because people put them down and they ridicule them, make fun of them. You'll remember that you go get a haircut. 8 people say it's great. 1 person says, what happened? That's all you think. What do you mean what happened? That's how our mind is rigged to fix the problem. You know what I'm saying? So again, and I'm sorry I don't mean to be a contrarian at all in this conversation. It's just there needs to be a place where we can all share, disagree when we need to, but agree on one thing, that talking about it is important, that understanding is important, and respecting each other is important. I think you get those 3 things, I think we're good to go.
Oh, no, yeah. No, I just like to argue it. No, if I'm being serious, I just like to argue it because, like, my dad died in 2007, and my younger brother became, he didn't believe in God anymore. Right. Just gave up on God. And I really had the conversation that went something like this. Because of this. And it was like, yeah, well, and he also had like a surgery. Because at the wake of my dad's, my younger brother, I'm in the front room getting a drink. My wife goes, Mike, get in the back room. Someone fell, takes an old aunt, go in the back. It's my younger brother on the ground, have a seizure, right? My mom's screaming, Mike, don't let him die. My brother Ray's running around, right? And I'm like, all right. So I just went cold for a couple of days. He had surgery. He came out of that. He now claims it can't be a God for my dad to die, which I try to explain to my brother. Dad smoked like 8 packs every day in that apartment. He was going to go. So it just happens. I like everybody, Chris, but I think atheists sometimes they are more pushy now than it was back in the day when I felt like it was more.
True, because people have a forum now. Because back in the day, you didn't work for newspapers. Now you get on Facebook or you get on Instagram. You're like a newspaper author, editor now. It's the same as it is now. But if you think about it, though, maybe one day if he's not feeling well and you visit him again and you hold his hand or talk to him, whatever, he might understand that, well, maybe God sent you. Maybe you're here. And maybe that's what you need. You know what I'm saying? So I think if you act in a way that's kind, however he wants to categorize that, whether you love him, whether you respect him, whether it's a God or not God, it's still positive. And maybe his last few moments of whatever he's going through will find some peace in that. Hey, you know what? This big brother is okay. I love this guy. You know what? You're okay. Thanks for being here for me. And that might be enough for him to find some peace and not wait around here for a century or 2.
Chris is a real nice guy, huh?
Yes, right? He is. And you should be really nice to him.
Yeah, he takes a nice angle on everything. It's hard to get him to say one thing. I haven't got him once. He just keeps being nice. It's just been incredible.
I like it.
Well, how much time do we have? We could drop dead tomorrow, God forbid. I mean, I'm not going to spend time being upset about things. I do get some like littering. Don't litter. I pick things off the ground and things, minor things. But no, I try to enjoy things best I can, because if you live your entire life being angry, it goes by really fast. You don't accomplish much. You know what I'm saying? You really need to find something you love and do it. And Buddy's got his drinks all the time. He loves that. He finds value in that. Enjoy. It's fun to see, right? Here he goes. It's like his trademark. That's a cool thing. 20 years from now, say, remember that show, Legit Paranormal? Yeah, remember they got that? Yeah, remember him? That's how it goes, you know? And it's a little silly sometimes, but it's not. It's an aspect of who we are that defines us. And you don't do it just for attention. You do it because you love something. You want to share it. And that's good.
Speaking of beers, I need to get another one.
So, hey, Buddy, nice call. See, here's my thing. I like to have really silly moments, then really serious moments. And then I have what I call, I'm just making jokes in my head and making myself angry. Like, I can't be behind an older person at a drive-up ATM because it's just like, are they going to lean out the window, open the door, stand out of the car? Standing out of the car. Like, what are you doing? You know, they just can't figure out how to pull up.
They're going to give their grandson $1 for their birthday. Go easy on them.
Oh my God, dude! So you've obviously never had to stand behind one trying to like.
I've been behind many of this. Behind me half the time. You're behind me probably.
What's the every button? The finger starts up here, Chris. They don't even keep the finger down.
Like
this, Chris. Look, see the distance? Like it's like they bring it all the way back. It's like, what are you doing? You typing? So all right. So Sin, let's go back in the Chris story. So he's at college, right? He just mentioned the disembodied voice, right? Now, Chris, when did you realize,
Very
oh,
cool.
shizniz, I'm in? Like, oh no, this is like, other than you heard the voice, okay, it's scary, call your name.
Yeah.
Like, what was the moment that you go, like, I'm into something?
Yeah, I assumed the voice was a kid playing a joke on me from behind the door, out the wall, or something like that. I didn't buy into that. But the next evening, when I'm at my desk and I see what they now call a full-bodied apparition in my room, standing over my shoulder, looking at me, and I can see this person like I can see you, tangible, except for the fact that the thighs and down were inside the stereo. And I knew at that point in time that is freaky. And you know, when you try to be or work on being a serious competitive athlete, there's no time for panic. You prepare, you do your plan. It goes offline, keep going forward. You know, you shuffle. But when I saw that thing, which was impossible, I panicked. I just screamed. I had candy in the air, and I ran down the hall going, "Oh my God! Oh my!" Pounding on doors, "Let me in!" It just because I realized in that moment that that's impossible. So I was crazy, which is bad, or it was there, which is bad. There's a no-win scenario in that moment.
No, questioning your own sanity
not a good
is a
thing.
moment we don't like as guys, at least. I don't know you what Sin on the female aspect. I don't know how many times you think you're crazy. Is it like once every hour?
Wow.
Come on, Sin. Come on. I set you up for that goddamn joke.
Yellow flag.
You head all women for 1 second, please. You can get elected.
I'm just, fuck you, Mike.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So let me ask you this then. So obviously seeing something in your room, anything that's half-bodied, whatever, as long as you can see it, that right there is I don't know if I would scream and go ask for help, whereas I would more just run. But see, I'm not a thinker like you. See, I'm a basketball player, so I would run and run out of breath. Whereas you're a long distance runner, you plan this out. You run down the hall, you'd probably run down around the college and come back.
I was looking for someone to talk to. I was looking for anybody to say something, to hear what I sounded like, to hear what it sounded like to them, to see what the reaction would be. Because maybe these things did happen, I just didn't know it. And they'd say, "Oh, yeah, he's there all the time." What? I didn't know. So I was trying to gauge my environment. I knew in there was freaky as all hell. So I want to get out of there. And luckily for me, the first door I banged down would belong to Ed and Jeff. And Jeff's the one that had gone to the symposium with me with the Warrens. And he was just amazing. I mean, from day one, he began to write down and chronicle a journal of everything we were seeing and doing. For like book after book after book, like temperature recordings, time recordings, what we had for breakfast and dinner, what we saw, where the placement was, the moon alignment, everything, because he thought this was fascinating to see. I mean, for me, I wasn't part of this experiment. I wanted to get this thing out of here, but for him, it was fascinating to get all this data. Like, wow, this can really happen. So he was enthused, worried about my health, of course, and my safety, but also enthused. And he was the rock. He's the one that, because of him, we have all the photographs and the cassette tapes and the notes, because he was determined to make this exist and be studied, where I just said, burn it all, get it out, so it was thanks to Jeff and his foresight, all this stuff still exists.
That's
now in the very beginning, though, when weird things started happening and you heard your name the first couple of times, you didn't say anything, did you, to anybody?
No. Oh, no, not at all. And again, that's being an athlete. When you're in the 10-mile mark of a marathon, you didn't tell your buddy next to you, "Hey, I have a cramp." You didn't say, "I'm breathing heavy, hard now." It's you versus them, the psyche, and you don't show weakness. And so I was trained not to show weakness in athletics. Also, culturally, my great grandma says you don't put your dirty laundry out there. You keep the family laundry inside. So between culturally and sports, it was double whammy. Just keep your doubts and fears to yourself. You move on forward. Chin up, they'd say.
What about when was it your great grandfather that you saw?
Yes.
Did this to you?
Yeah, he
did that have a little bit to it?
Well, I'm sure, because what I understood that was, don't say anything, don't tell anybody. And I was thinking of at that moment, but looking back, it was in the back of my moment seared deeply, because I can still see that moment, the grass on the ground, the ball. It's a snapshot in my head from 37 years ago. I can see it like now. it's deep scarred in there, you know, even though I don't always think about it. It's the old file in the back, but there it is.
Sin, you got to put it into context. There's two things that need to be in context. One, he was Italian growing up, so there's a code just amongst the Italians of you don't just shut up, don't say nothing. Just that's how it goes, right? Secondly, everyone that's watching, this is college in the '80s. Like, how can I explain it? You will get picked on more in the '80s than you would now. In other words, you go down the hall saying there's a ghost in the '80s.
Yeah,
you get called names we can't say on YouTube. That's just what I'm trying to say, and that's just a fact. Nowadays, you know, maybe someone will listen to you. So, to me, to go tell somebody is a huge deal. Back in the '80s, like that's where I'm putting it in context. Like, and Jeff was a stenographer. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't take Jeff out for a weekend with us, but he seems like a great guy. He writes everything down.
Great photographs for you.
Yeah, everything down. He writes everything down. He wrote what you were eating down, which may have been a little too far. Now, Buddy, you were just wearing a turtleneck for a little bit there. What would you like to add?
I would like to actually change gears a little bit. So after you had this, I mean, you had an experience when you were younger. You saw your grandfather. You had these amazing experiences in college. I'm sorry. Okay. And after that, did you continue to have experiences in your life? Have you had paranormal experiences that have been that traumatic, or even that close to being that like exciting, or what goes on?
I guess the best analogy I can use is that when I was 16, I ran in a half marathon in Middletown, New York. For those who come home, it was supporting the homeless Vietnam veterans, and a lot of Vietnam vets were there to cheer us on. To raising money for them, and we got pledges and things. And in the starting line, they said, "Your mark, get set, bang!" And about 15 people hit the ground.
Oh,
it was a starter's pistol, but 50, bang, hit the like in unison. I'm like, I got chills now thinking about it. I'm like, wow, that really, they can never forget that sound. They can never forget their training. It's ingrained in them. And I ran that race, but the whole time I'm thinking about those poor guys. Oh my gosh, it's in their head. That's never coming out. And so once this thing happened to me at Geneseo, it's never coming out. And I still see things. I'm aware of things. I hear things. It just, you know, as an element of free will, I decide if I investigate or not. I decide if I interact or not. And there are times I say, listen, no, not doing this. Get away. That's it. No. Because, you know, it's kind of same thing in our analogy. You have a person you love in high school and they're abusive and nasty and rip you apart. And damn, I'm done with that for a while, you know? So I think that a part of self-preservation is that you eliminate things that cause you pain or anguish. And so for about 20 years, give or take, I had nothing to do with the paranormal at all. I had good friends every week playing bowling, darts, softball, who loved ghosts and watched TV shows. They never knew about me, that I was the ghost boy sitting next to them. They never had any clue about that for years until I started talking in 2012 with the Syfy show. I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? What? No one knew. It was like put in a box and put away. And then when Syfy approached and said they want to do this show, I thought, I'll take a risk as long as I can control what they say. And that worked out pretty well. And then from there, that's how we went on and on and on from that.
Wow.
Yeah, so the whole thing is, when I first heard the story, there's points of the story that are just like, come on, really? And then you're like, well, yeah, really, because you just listen to them talk. And without telling the whole story, my favorite moment from the first show that we had was when I compared you to Thor with the pillow, because that blew my mind that could happen, and then someone could see that and then not have like a. The reaction was they left, right? They left school, wasn't it?
Yeah, my first mate, Paul, left after seeing that tug of war with nothing, with that pillow in the air floating.
And that would do it. That was my point was then, and it is now. I think if I was your roommate right at first, I don't know. Yeah. If I saw you tugging a pillow like that in the air with no one, I might have to move dorms.
He talked about it one time 9 years later to a gentleman named Alan Lewis, who wrote some articles about this haunting, and he said that he looked up and he saw that my feet were wrapped around the mattress like holding on, and I was in the squat position that the pillow was taut in the air with nothing there, and he said, that's it, things are too crazy, I gotta get out of this place. That's it, done, too crazy, I can't do it.
No, I mean you can kind of see his side of it.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't want to wake up, and the wife's having a tug of war with the pillow, and I've known the wife for a long time. I would still think, I don't know. Maybe I should go live down in the basement. So basically, Chris, what I always get with you is so you're a long distance runner, right? Your philosophy on life is basically to live it. Like the toughest part of life and the best part of life is to live it. You
Create
just,
moments for yourself. That's right.
you got to get out there, take at bats, right?
Yep. Swing
The
the
worst
bat.
thing to do is not swing. The worst
Yeah,
thing to do
exactly.
is
Nothing happens. My dad told me that in Little League.
Yeah, it's like Swing Away, Merrill, Swing
Oh,
Away.
yeah, is that
Like,
movie, right? Signs?
Yeah, Signs.
Yep.
Like, that's one of my favorite moments because he
Yeah.
had a record for what, strikeouts and for like home runs, which is
Yeah.
a Pete Incaviglia type baseball player. Sorry if I went that deep on
Oh,
you
the
guys.
Rangers.
If there was one guy that represented steroids, it was Pete Incaviglia. Look the name up. Look the way he looked. He would look like this. He looked like Bluto from Popeye. With
Yeah. Well, he
Oh,
knew
yeah.
Juan Gonzalez and Canseco and those guys too. So
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he was just steroids, Chris. I'm pretty sure that
only
he was
steroids.
just only. Like that's all he was.
Roger Clemens.
No. But you're missing my point. When you see a picture of Pete Incaviglia,
Douche
he had no
That's what it
point
is.
playing professional baseball. Although Roger Clemens had some great chicken. No,
Oh, he was such an asshole.
he
though.
made
I'm
great
sorry,
chicken. Oh, and he was a great pitcher. Come on, you're just mad because he became a Yankee. Finally won one.
guys. No. He used steroids, Mike, and that's.
Oh,
that's
we
why
know
was
he
a great
did.
pitcher.
That's not my point. I've been waiting for them to get into the Hall of Fame.
The
Put
Red
him,
Sox got tired of him,
Vaughn.
went to Toronto, so. He juiced up and had a second career for himself.
Well, he
Yeah.
juiced up because the Red Sox was like, "You're done." He's
Yep.
like, "Oh yeah, watch me do the juice."
That's right.
And he won what, Cy Young with the Blue Jays.
You.
Such a ball bag.
Brutal throw. Anyways, Sin. So, what would you like to ask next? Because I'm enjoying your questioning compared to Turtleneck Buddy.
Yeah. What else? So, what was the thing that happened that was just the end all that you had to get this out? Was it in the bathroom when you were attacked by yourself and lying on the floor?
Mm.
You
Was
attacked
that-
yourself?
No, when he was attacked
Oh,
in the
The
shower.
shower scene, Mike.
Yeah.
The shower scene.
I usually whenever I write things in like a literary format, I always start with that bathroom, that shower text scene.
That's
It's kind of like a
terrifying.
trailer, because you can't get, I don't think, my viewpoint, scarier than that, where you're in the freaking shower of all places. You got nothing to hit with. There's no weapons. There's no clothes. There's nothing. You got just you. And you're all wet and slippery. And all of a sudden, you get attacked and you're bleeding, and you're knocked on the ground. It was really a vicious thing. And the only thing I remember is to yell. I yelled, "Who are you? Show yourself, you coward!" I just didn't know what to do. And I don't know if it's because of the cold or the pain or the nerves or the trauma, but I was shaking. And I remember I went on my knees, then boom, down face first onto the bathroom floor. I'm ready to die. I remember thinking to myself, I don't want to die, but I don't know how to live anymore. I don't know how to deal with this. And I'm too tired. I can't. And that was probably the lowest point of everything. And I think that there's a movie called Castaway, which is very good with Tom Hanks. And I think that captures this moment well for me. And that as I'm lying there on the floor, I see one droplet of water, one pear-shaped bead of water on my wrist from when I was in the shower. And it was sparkling. And I remember he had that ball called Wilson. Remember the soccer ball? And it was so stupid because it's a ball, but then the ball goes like, the ball's like, Wilson! You're like crying at a fake movie about a soccer ball, but that's the power of human connection, And I remember this droplet of water was so beautiful. It was sparkling, and I could see in the droplet, I could see the floor upside down, like, oh my gosh, that's inversion. The water's inverting the light. It's refraction. That's perfect. That makes sense. And then it dropped down, like, oh, my water. But wait, gravity pulled on that to bring it down. So refraction, then gravity. I looked down, and the tile was dark and moisture. So in that moment, I realized, okay, I'm not crazy. The laws of science are still working, but what the hell is this? Yeah. How can I survive this? And I remember thinking to myself, don't make a face, because my mom would be upset if in the casket I was making a face. My mom gave up everything to have me. And the thought of me being a teenager, being dead on the floor at college and would be bad enough, but then have a horrible face on me, she would never forget that. So I made a calm face in case they found me that way. And then Jeff opened the door and my friends found me and pulled me out, So that was a brutally horrifying moment that embarrasses me that I gave up hope. I didn't mean to. I was so overwhelmed. I couldn't think in that moment. I just my mind basically shut down for a while.
So
It's kind of sounds like you were trying to, without knowing that you were trying to ground yourself.
Yeah, yes, right, to find a baseline, but I didn't know
Yeah.
those words back then. But yes, just breathe, just to watch and breathe because I can't do anything yet.
you so you guys get two things, right? One, a mom's guilt is incredible. Like, you're worried about your face, and I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
Like you're about to die. Now, what my issue is, I'm a sports guy at heart, and I keep seeing you as a long distance runner because even the way you're describing the way this happens, the way it slows down your head.
Right.
Like in other words, I ran cross country, and I was not meant to do it. Didn't like it. I used to hide out. You want to know the truth? I would hide out and cut through the yards, and then just meet up with them at the end because I didn't want to come in first, but I just didn't want to come in last.
extra laps for you.
Cheater.
I was a basketball player, man. I was like 6 feet tall. I was good at getting the ball, going on low, scoring. I didn't want to run for a long time. I didn't have that kind of mindset. Like, I'm being honest. Like, these guys that run cross country, there's a weird thing that when they're gassed, they still will hang with it
Keep going
until
like a
they get
machine.
it back again and they go. And it's like,
Yeah.
whereas the basketball players,
Oh
they're
my
like,
God.
time out. Oh, rest
Don't
day,
do it.
rest day. Oh, you know what I mean? Like, we're out. It's just a different mindset. It's just different explosions. Chris has a very slow, like, pain threshold of letting it. He can just hang in there long, and it comes from cross country. Like that's. Trust me, those practices were the worst. The worst
Well,
practice I've ever been in my life. What do you do? Run. Okay.
Well, in the cross country too, he was in his mind all the time.
Keeping himself.
He was alone. Yeah, he was always.
It's
in
called your
his-
second wind. Once you're exhausted, all of a sudden gear 2 kicks in and just kind of go naturally, and that's what that gear is. But it takes miles and miles and hours to get to have a gear 2 where you can just do that.
A lot of us don't have a gear 2, and if there's
I-
anything you can teach people, though, seriously, anything that people can get as an inspiration, it would be to know you have a second gear.
Yeah, they
To
do.
believe that you do, because a lot of people, they give up. Like, it's just, in other words, I always tell everybody, like, whenever I give advice, because I'm awful at it, my best way of doing it is just going like, just hang in, just hang in there, and just go another day, and just trust me. This is how it works. Just keep going forward. You're gonna keep getting hit the whole time, but just keep going forward. There's gonna be some great times. Like, it'll be mixed in there. Like, because a lot of us have it worse than others. Can't say that's not true. It is, but still, you were given life. Like, I get it. We've all had we all have our own like suitcase full of horrors, you know. But like we've all seen people that we think, oh my God, they've had it so bad. But wouldn't that just make the better things better? You know what I mean by that? Like, in other words, if you're just
You
dealing with
appreciate, right? Once you
exactly, yeah.
I think learning how to lose helps you appreciate winning. I was being scouted my senior year at the Marist College Invitational, and I know if I got top 3, I get a scholarship. I was like second or third place, then I get a cramp, 31st. And that was just it destroyed me. All those years of running, and I get 31st place. My coach, come on, get in the bus, get changed. We'll do it tomorrow. And then, sure enough, it worked out. But you know, you need to have that insight to say, listen, what's that? Willie Stargell from the Pirates. He said, don't get too high in the good days or low in the bad days. Keep it smooth and even. You'll see it through to the end. And there are so many times people get so upset they want to kill themselves. Meanwhile, people still love them, and they don't pay attention. That people will support you, but just you're so in your head you can't get out of it. No, it's only me, but you never are truly alone unless you choose to be.
But that is depression. So
Yes,
the problem with depression is depression will make you think
Yeah.
only of what's going on with you.
right.
And if you can break it and worry about other people and get your attention on them, like your family,
Yeah.
it will get you out of a funk. Like I know if I focus, like, I don't like me. I'm my least favorite person. So if I focus on just me all day, it won't be good. I'm not going to bring up my greatest hits. It's just going to be all my greatest misses. That's all I do to myself. So I try to focus on other stuff, keep myself busy, try to help out, you know, be nice to other people, try. And
The
then
survival
all-
shuffle. The survival
Yeah.
shuffle in the marathon's what you do when you have to hit the wall, your legs are lactic acid. Survival shuffle means going 1 mile at a time, Good. Check that box. And so if you do it in your regular life, so, okay, I paid the rent. That's a plus. I got up today. That's a plus. I had breakfast. A plus. And eventually you realize a lot of pluses are right there. And then there are probably more pluses than negatives. It doesn't feel as good. This is important, right? And so I'm a special education teacher as well, working with kids who have suffered any kind of atrocity you could think of. And one of my jobs is to inspire them to learn and to believe in themselves. So I think that my experience ironically helped me in that moment.
without doubt. And I like what Sarah wrote here. And I'm
I do
looking it up.
too.
I like
So
that
the
a lot.
mindset is important
Yeah.
in sports and the paranormal. And you know what? Yes, that's 100% true. Now, after about 300 hours of sports podcasting and 400 hours of paranormal now, roughly with all the shows, I have a perfect view on both these subjects, in my opinion, that yes, it is definitely mindset. It is your intention. It also, though, is a work ethic. And I worry that I'm going to sound like an old curmudgeon, but I know, like in the 80s, right? You could play a rec league, but you would take it 100% seriously. It was the NBA Finals every time you had the pleasure of playing basketball in front of an audience. Buddy, you think I'm joking, but it was.
Oh no, I know you're not joking, Mike.
We were so competitive back when we were like teens. Like every game we played was like life or death. Like Ernie Di Gregorio, the NBA Rookie of the Year, Italian from my high school, comes back to coach us. Like that's a big moment, you would think. You know, we took it so serious that, like, Chris, I'm being honest. Like my son played ball, and he was a million times better than I was. A million. But I would have beat him 10 out of 10 times because he didn't play like we played. We played like assassins. And cross country, no, I'm being serious, and it was competitive. Cross country must have been really bad.
I lived it. So I believe you.
Yeah, it was. But cross country, Chris, you must have had some. You knew all the people around you that were good.
Yeah,
you knew those guys' names.
And there were times you got second place. I'm very proud for what you did, more than winning first place by a lot, because there was much more effort and you really worked that battle to the final, the final stretch. So it wasn't always about finishing first. Sometimes just knowing you gave 100%, that felt good too, to improve. And and you can't control who's there at the race line with you, just how you do. And some days you'll have a favorite, some days you'll be way in the back, but you just always do the best you can to run a smart race. And when you surprise yourself, that feels good.
Did you ever mess with their minds though, your competitors? Like you sit, run behind them and just drag for a while, and then run around them and come back?
I was always too polite for that, you know me.
Oh,
but
wow.
there was one guy in high school who would shave, he had hairy legs. He shaved them in circles, so like hair, no hair, like stripes. Yeah, It was hilarious. So people look at his legs, he'd take off. He weren't paying attention to the race, and he'd win. It was like brilliant, I would use strategy where I'd try to run from pole to pole or around bushes you couldn't see me. I'd try to know a course where to push and not push, but I never had, theatrical things like that. I was just, just kind of quiet that way and just watch things.
I cheated. I would, and I admit to it, I would cheat. Like I was the guy that would step on your shoes, you couldn't jump. I'd tug your jersey down so you couldn't jump. I'd push you in the small of the back right before the rebound like this. So the ref couldn't see it because my right arm would go up, my left hand would push you, and I'd get about a foot in front of me, and I would get the rebound. I'm being honest. Like I had to do what I had to do, whatever I had to do to win. And it was only in sports that it was like that. It was weird. It's like, here we go. And Kev and all those guys that I played with, they'll all admit I was the dirtiest player they ever played with, but they'll also admit when I was on their team, it was a lot of fun to play with me because I just wanted to win. Like I did. That's all I wanted to do when I played sports. Now I don't really care because I'm old. We move slower.
No, I think you're still like that.
No, it's only, in sport.
Oh, yeah.
In sport.
No. You're like that on here.
I'm just
you're like a badger sometimes.
Oh yeah.
You're a badger.
I'm always like a badger. No. That's like asking the Hulk if he's angry. And he turns around and he said, my trick is I'm always angry. No, I'm just always a badger. Like I'm an Italian. Like I'm an Italian. Like Chris knows, but he doesn't know because he's a nice Italian. You know what I mean? we do make those. But like he knows, like the Italians complain how we like to complain. Like the grandfathers, they wear like the shirt that's not buttoned. It should be buttoned, but it's unbuttoned. They're showing their stomach and they're just complaining about everything. That's what Italian older guys do. I don't know. I'm not trying to shock anybody.
It's a rite of
passage.
passage.
Think we have that down here?
What's that?
You don't think we have that down here? It's scary down here if you see that.
You do, but it's almost like you're trying to tell me about Italian food down in Tennessee, and I'm comparing it to Italian food up in New York.
Well, there's no comparison on that. No.
So, Chris, you're coming down. Buddy, what are you doing? Are you getting a beer?
God, I went for a beer and I banged my head really bad. I'm okay.
I've seen him bang his head
You banged your head?
No, he's so tall, you don't get it. He bangs his head on everything all the time.
Everything.
So comical.
Everything. Basements are horrible for me.
So, Chris, we have had what? And then what? Does the shaving make you more aerodynamic?
Ooh.
Swimmers do that. Swimmers save their legs and their body. I know that.
But runners, no, right? Just
Not
keep your arms
typically.
in.
Maybe in a sprint, but if you're running for 26 miles, it's more about your strength.
Yeah, and endurance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of endurance, which is what I was going for, you're coming down on Block Island with us. So hopefully your endurance is still intact from back in the 80s, because we may try to test that. So far, I think we're 2 for 2 with that. We're doing really well. We've had a great time. People have had fun. Block Island itself is a terrifying place in the winter, beautiful place in the summer. It is like a Jekyll and Hyde place like no other. And I mean that, man, because even in the summer, when you visit areas, you'll be like, all right, so what happened there? Who killed who there? Like, and then what? They burned what? And you're like, what? And it's just like no traffic lights, just stop signs. They don't allow traffic lights, right? It's just this weird. Everybody place says it's open at 11, doesn't open till 11:15. Buddy, am I wrong?
Not at all.
Island time.
Island
No one has to be on time. They'll be around that time. They'll tell you time. They're gonna be around it, And then walking the streets, it's like spring break, and then a bunch of old rich white people.
A lot of New Yorkers. You'll be right at home, Chris.
That's what it is. No, I'll call it like I see it. It's like college kids and people like that having fun, and then you got just this certain like section of, it's weird. I was saying this the other day. I find it funny that as a white person, but I consider myself an Italian, that when I see somebody that's really white, I will say they're really white. And I don't know why I feel the need to say that, but I'll be like, that guy was really white. And you know what I mean by that? Like, it's like a polo shirt. The hair is like white comb perfect. There's just something white about him. You guys follow that, what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I don't think you do, because I don't follow what I'm saying. Now, Chris, you are looking forward to coming to Block Island with us, are you not?
It is the only event I'm doing in a 1-year time span. It's the one event I'm looking forward to, yes.
Yeah, it's going to be...
I'm so jealous. So jealous.
Yeah, because, it's also a great place to, like, get to know people and hang out. And then there's, like, all these different characters that we have. What is he doing?
Scaring me, though.
Buddy, what was that?
I was just singing the Block Island Fairy theme. My God.
No, I know that, but what's
sunglasses.
that? Oh, those are sunglasses.
I don't know what that was.
All right. How are the loons?
The loons are beautiful tonight, Mike. They flew in earlier. They're going to fly in later on today when it's cool a little bit down.
It didn't get dark where you live.
It does. It's getting darker now. So, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's not real. Then ask another question. Go ahead. Shoot.
So, since graduation, have you done anything? Has anything like that happened since?
I think I already asked that question.
No, thank God. No, nothing like that has happened since. I don't think I'd survive it again. I know that there's not a lot of love for Yankees in this room, but
I like the Yankees.
There was a baseball player in 1965 named Bobby Mercer, who got to play alongside Mantle and Maris for one brief season before the Army called him. And he wanted to be a 5-time All-Star, be an announcer for many years, but the height of his career, 17 years, was playing for those few games on the same field with Maris and Mantle. And that's like, for me, the highlight of my paranormal career happened when I was a teenager. There's nothing more than can happen. It was the holy grail in a horrifying way. So I don't look for things. I don't need to find things. I survived it, thank God. And now I can look back and say, hey, listen, I was that guy who did that 40 years ago. Hey, how you feeling? I don't have to post pictures. I don't have to examine things. I got the street cred. I think I more than I've earned it years and years ago. And I'm happy about that. And I like to watch now others on their journey to see where it takes them, what kind of devices they use, what their thought process is, where they go to explore, how they apply that. So I'm kind of like an old timer now, I don't mean age-wise, I just mean like, go to a Hall of Fame game once a year, swing a bat and go home, so, and because it happened so long ago, no one goes back and says, well, that was a Photoshop, didn't have it back then. No, that was intention. It wasn't that case. So it's almost like back in the old days, Willie Mays, then that guy never struck out. Yeah, he did. You know what I'm saying? It's just people remember the good things. So I'm blessed that this has become this iconic situation where I can just go there, roll me in and say, hey, and then roll me out again. So it's, that's where I am.
Have you learned how to, I'm sure you have, but how do you walk into a place and know that you're protected? So what do you do to ground yourself before you go somewhere?
I don't do anything like that.
Do you not have to?
I worry about others. I mean, I had my day in the sun. I've lived a decent life. I pray for others, not myself, really. I protect others, not me, because, most people are younger than me or want to explore things. I've been blessed. Aside from this horrible haunting thing, I've been blessed beyond reason. When I was born, 5 grandparents. Both my parents are still alive this day. I've been married for 34 years. I have 2 amazing children. I have a granddaughter. I've met presidents. I've run in marathons. I mean, my life has been not without its problems, but really a blessed life. The fact that I'm on the show with you today, that's really cool. There are thousands of folks who want to come on the show, say, let me talk. The fact that you invite me on and get a Block Island, what a cool thing is that? I mean, and so, I don't have this competitive sense anymore. I really don't. What I have learned, though, Sin, is to appreciate, and I hope that sounds like a broken record, but to appreciate every day that I have. It's a nice thing. And so when I go someplace now, I look at folks in the eye. I observe them. I listen to their voice sounds like. I see how their hands move. I just try to live in the moment now, because I might have a year or 20 years. I don't know, but most of my time is behind me now. I won't be 116 someday. So I'm really just trying to get the most I can out of life that's positive and sensory and do those things. And I hope it doesn't sound foolish or entitled, but that's the truth.
So, three quick things. Well, 4 actually.
3 quick things.
It doesn't sound like that at all. It just sounds. We don't like people don't like positivity. I noticed they just don't. I don't know why they shun away from it. Secondly, out of all the things you listed, having both parents still.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing.
My dad turns 80 this fall.
Nice.
I have no grandparents, no parents, nothing left. To have your parents, that's fantastic, my friend. That's above and beyond. Then I was going to say Mickey Mantle knew 2 things: drinking and playing baseball drunk. Giants fan. You remind me of a Giants fan, and I'll tell you why. We had the greatest sports moment we're ever going to have. I saw it happen. I saw Eli throw the pass. I saw him break out of the sack. I saw him throw the ball to Tyree. Tyree catch it with one hand on his helmet, and then we went on to beat the undefeated local team, New England Patriots.
Oh, that was against the odds.
There'll never be a better. Yeah, I'm done. Like, as a sports fan, like as a Giants fan, I'm always like, buddy, I hope you the Dolphins finally win one. Not really, but I sprinkle the infield. Like, what do I care? We've had our day in the sun. We've taken on Goliath.
They were good. Right. They had Bob Greasy and Larry Zonkin. Those guys when I was a kid. I remember the Dolphins being good. Sorry.
We'll get there again.
That's when they wore leather helmets. But Chris, let's not go back that far.
Sorry.
Last time they were in the Super Bowl was '84, and Marino rookie year, right? You lost to the John Riggins in the train, my friend. Hey, buddy, how's that feel? You hate it. You hate it. Oh God, I love. Chris, do you get excited about football season?
Do I?
Yeah.
No.
You don't get to it.
No.
All right, it's a passion for me. No, I'm being serious. The one thing that will make me cry on a routine basis has been over the years the New York Football Giants. Like, I wish I could sue them for emotional distress, because if they lose on Sunday, if you're a real fan, Buddy might know this, but then again, he's a Dolphins fan. If you lose on Sunday, you're not happy till Wednesday. And I'm not joking. Like, my mood is ruined the whole rest of Sunday, all of Monday, all of Tuesday. That's how much of an idiot, of a sports fan that I am.
I have to explain something. I feel I need to, because I feel like I was a little bit rude to you just then. There's a reason why football doesn't appeal to me now, and I'll tell you why. When I was, I think, 7 or 8, I got an autograph from Joe Klecko. And when I was a little kid, I saw Joe Namath from the Super Bowl. So everything was Jets, Jets, Jets. And for 16 years, I watched him get to the end zone and not score. So just like with the haunting stuff, for 16 years, I am done. D-U-N, done. And that was it. And so I kept my word. I watched football once a year because it was so painful being a Jets fan somehow. So it didn't give me any satisfaction. I just boom.
But so one of my friends, we call him Big Stu. See, I collect signed helmets, and I actually got the New York Sack Exchange, Klecko, Gastineau, all four of them on one helmet, and gave it to Stu. Now, what I love about Stu is, as a Jets fan, he never has hope. No matter who they sign, what they do. Rodgers is there now. All this stuff. He's like, we're gonna lose. He's like, Mike, I'll tell you, we're gonna figure out a way to lose. The Jets, not to get off track, but the Jets are an organization for years that would take in like wide receivers that were good out of college and ruin them. One after another. And you go, what are they doing in the Jets organization where they just keep ruining rookies? They ruin them. You ruin them.
Madness. It's madness.
But that's why I love him as a Jets fan, because
I give him credit. He's more strength than I do in those areas.
He's more of a long distance runner as a Jets fan
than I am.
Than you are.
That is correct.
You see, even the Jets, like, look,
worthy.
Chris is a long distance runner, want to go to the Olympics, and then he lived through a whole experience.
No, I can't do the Jets thing. He
can't be a Jets fan.
He's got it over me.
That's the greatest thing in the world. You went through all that stuff. All this haunting stuff.
Jets,
but you can't deal with the Jets.
Can't do the Jets.
No, that's too much.
Too painful. Can't do it. I tap out. I tapped out like 15 years ago. That's done. It's like cold turkey. I'm sober. I'm sober now for about 15 years.
You know what's funny is, Buddy will know this too. Only a Jets fan would I accept that from. Like, I get it. It's been so bad for the Jets. Like, just when you think they're going to be good. No. Watch them show you. They'll show you how bad they can be.
They are awful.
Fool me once. What's that phrase? Fool me 17 times. I'm out.
Oh my God. No, dude. The whole. First of all, the headbutt. What do they call the headbutt fumble? Where what's his face ran into the offensive lineman's ass and fumbled the ball.
Yes.
From USC. That is how. Is that even possible? Like, a quarterback takes a couple steps forward. What was his name, Buddy? The good-looking kid from USC. Come on. The butt fumble.
Mark. Hold on. I think I'm getting a call.
Anyway, I don't remember his name. Matt something from US. Whatever from USC. Buddy, what would you like to say? No, Sin, what would you like to say to wrap it up?
Yeah.
So this has been a great show. Thank you so much for coming on here. You have been so interesting, and
thank you.
You've got so many more questions that I could ask, and we just ran out of time. Thank you.
We don't want to give away every.
It was nice to meet you.
Not very nice to meet you.
Hey, Buddy. What would you like to say to Mark Sanchez? Wrap up, Mark Sanchez. What would you like to say to wrap up, Mark Sanchez?
If you didn't enjoy Mark Sanchez conversations and bashing of the New York Jets, then tune in live next Sunday at 7:05 as we welcome paranormal investigator and fellow podcaster Victoria Monday, as she will come on the show and talk about her experiences as a paranormal investigator and a podcaster. To wrap up, Chris, I got a question. So, good friend of mine, he's a lieutenant colonel, just recently promoted lieutenant colonel in the Rhode Island National Guard, Jeffrey Ahern. Thank you for your service, sir. He also runs, he did the Boston Marathon. He runs these ultra marathons now, like 50K, 100K, up and down mountains. He's a crazy mother. I don't, where do you find, as a runner, as somebody that's experienced something traumatic, where do you find that inner drive to push you through, to make you successful, to say get up and keep going, guy?
I found that a sense of accomplishment because it made my father proud, my coach proud, my teammates proud, my family proud. I finally found something I could do. Everyone loved it, and so it spurred me on. That I realized, my gosh, if you go all the way, there's some financial reward there for winning marathons and things like that too. It got me into college, so I just realized it's not fun. No one loves running 20 miles and says woohoo, but you do it and you feel this sense of accomplishment. And I always liked that, And I used to have a poster on my walk college that said that the race doesn't go to the swiftest, but those who keep on running. And that was I had on my wall, And so I'm a late bloomer for this paranormal stuff. I didn't speak publicly for the first time until I was almost 40 years of age, maybe 42. So that's it. I just finished filming for about a week and a half up in Rochester for a miniseries, a documentary next year. It'll be on some streaming service. So I'm really excited about that. So I just keep on getting blessed with these opportunities to share what had happened. So I'm going to ride the wave until it crashes. I'm going to wave to everybody, and then when I hit the tide, boom, down, I get up, go on the beach, and have a beer. And just say thanks for the ride. Because I'm just so blessed to have so many friends and supporters and people who are really kind to me. And I want to thank all of you for once again giving me your time to share some of these things. It means a lot to me.
Not a problem. Just really quickly before we wrap up, in 1979, during the halftime of the Jets versus the Patriots at Jet Stadium, the Jets had what's called Flying Lawnmower Night. This is a true story. You can look it up.
Yeah, 1979, Boston, Billy Rogers, American record, 2 hours, 9 minutes, 27 seconds, and John Samuelson from Maine gets the women's title. Woo!
So they had flying lawnmowers, and one of them flew into the stands, killing one person and severely injuring another. That's just another great.
You bring me down, Zorak. You bring me down.
The New York Jets. I'm sorry,
Wow.
you started it. I can't stop it. I get so much Jet facts. It's ridiculous the stuff they've done. Buddy, are you coming down for this weekend or what? Because I'll talk Jets to him the whole time. He might have to put me in a headlock. Look,
I think I'm gonna be down for the weekend, Mike. Yeah.
Mike, what? You coming?
I think I'm gonna be down for an overnight at least. Yeah.
Oh, you can overnight? Oh, you can overnight?
Yeah.
All right, buddy.
Either Friday into Saturday or Saturday into Sunday.
Hey, I don't know why you're doing that, but the party's on.
I think I may know why.
I don't know.
If the cocktail's ready, Buddy's going to Block Alley.
All right, gets me excited. All right, I'm going to do the wrap-up like this. Please come out to see us. What is it, August 25th? Am I right? The 25th, 26th, 27th, right?
Yes.
Block Island tickets are on sale at blockislandghosttours.com, blockislandghosttours.com. Thank you to Rick, Holly, and Jackie. So, for Chris Dicesare, for Sin Shrader Hill, author, for Buddy Money Thayer, it's me, Mike Leopard King, Mike L. This was Legit Paranormal, brought to you by Legit Podcast.com. Tomorrow night, Russ Stivers has Compass of Curiosity. His guest will be me. We'll see how that goes. Good luck to Russ.